Oh, hi there. This is Theo the Lion.
I'm Cleo.
I'm Leona Lion.
Announcer Bunny here from Between the Lions. And now, you're watching the podcast where nostalgia comes alive.
It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show.
Keep being wild about reading and enjoy the show.
Roll it! Oh, boy.
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to this special YouTube exclusive episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Happy here with us, thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Davenport. With me today, as always, our co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going, Chris?
Doing good. Hello, everyone. How are you, Jake?
Great to hear. I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you very much for asking.
Yes, and as you can see here, folks, we have a lot of wonderful faces in this interview. And Jake, why don't you tell everyone why we have all these people here?
Yes, as you kind of already noticed already with, all these people here, when we were having the backgrounds, all these sort of things. Today, it's been a while since we last time done
YouTube exclusive episode.
Yeah, yes, exactly. An anniversary type of related episode. Now, this is going to be a fun one today. We'll be speaking all the people that's be here today. We'll tell you all the lineup today to talk about one of the most long-running PBS series, Between the Lions, celebrating 25 years, which is pretty
Crazy.
Wow, I know.
Came out the year I was born, I should say that.
Oh,
Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear
that. Ouch.
And I was born in 2004, which is when the show was already started. So, there you go, too.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, most of them are joining us, returning guests previously, and a couple will be joining for the very first time. To start this off, as of course, to start the introduction, so of course we can start with the co-creators. Of course, please welcome, coming back for the third time, please welcome both Christopher Cerf and Norman Stiles.
Hey, Jake. Hi, everyone.
Yes, and of course, one of the puppeteers, she is best known for performing Cleo, Jennifer Barnhart.
Hello.
You can keep going. Wonderful, Peer Lens.
Oh, did we?
Hi.
Hello to you, Peter.
Yes, exactly. And Tyler Bunch.
Woohoo! Yeah! Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Yes,
How
great
do you
to see
make
you.
it do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually
It just happens. I mean,
It has that in its house. Yeah.
Yes, and then Pam Arciero. Hello, Pam.
Hiya.
And Tim Legassi. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm here.
great. It's great to hear in some way or form. So thank you again, Tim.
You're welcome, Pam.
And of course, the last two that will be joining the show for the very first time, talking about this wonderful series, both Jim Kroupa and Sarah Durkee.
Hey, everybody.
Yes.
Nice. Get together every 25 years.
Whether we want to or not, right?
just all friends, just a hang,
Yes, absolutely.
So great to
But
be
yeah,
here.
it's great to have you all. Thanks very much for all to coming on by to talk about this show and
Amazing show.
yes, and thank you for coming on by for this. So we much appreciate it. So now to start this off, really, now of course those who are wondering who the heck all these people that are here today, which most of you might know anyway at this point, but can you kind of tell everyone who you are and what role that you got to do for Between the Lions?
I guess we'll just go down the list. I guess we'll go in the order on who's on my screen. We'll start off with Norman.
Oh, sorry, I dropped off.
You were frozen.
Someone wake up Norman. Someone wake up
I didn't
Norman.
used to do that, but now, 25 years later, I took.
Did no one tell him he used to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, but okay. So I got here. I think I took a cab over to Elaine's on the east side, and Chris and I had some drinks and
A restaurant for those who are
we
too
don't
young
know
to
it.
know.
Yeah, it used to be a very popular showbiz restaurant, showbiz and publishing, and we got together and somehow between the martinis and some pasta, we came up with the idea of doing a reading show for children. And Chris came up with the amazing pun between the lions because it was going to be set in a library. And there we
Now I get it.
Yes. I know,
now
when
you do?
when he first said it,
Oh.
I didn't get it the first time he said it.
Well, it makes sense. You were probably drunk.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Not probably, definitely. You've already admitted to more than one martini.
That's all for me, Chris.
Yes. Yes. Next is Chris Cerf.
Well, there were a few more details than that. But as I think most of
We
you
also had
know-
margaritas.
Yeah, that's right. We had margaritas and straight vodka. But I think everyone here knows, but maybe not everyone listening does, that Norm and I and everyone else on the show too, but at the time of that dinner, we were still contributing a lot to Sesame Street. And we had learned about how teachers and educators and top-notch writers and creative talent and puppeteers and all could collaborate. Sesame Street was a really unique product in that way. And we thought that we could move the age level up a little bit and focus on reading, which was a big problem in the country. Sesame Workshop, then called the Children's TV Workshop, had done a show called The Electric Company, which you all know, but that was for slightly older kids. So we wanted to go in that gap for beginning readers. And we collected a lot of our friends who had worked on Sesame, including many people here, and also a lot of the same educators like Marilyn Adams and Susan Newman, who were brilliant and actually helped write the National Reading Panel thing that's still held as the key to reading. And we tried to put it together the same way Sesame was put together.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Next is Sarah.
Hi again. I am delighted to say that I'm one of the people who had lots of experience writing with Chris and Norman both from Sesame Street days. And when Chris, when this creation of Between the Lions was afoot, I felt so lucky to be getting involved on really what was the ground level, where we were really able to brainstorm the feel of it, the look of it, the whole, and my husband and writing partner, Paul Jacobs, he was able to get really excited about jumping in with both feet, with putting together the band specifically for Between the Lions, knowing that the sound would, be something that we would be, again, creating from the ground up and having so much freedom and having so much fun. And having the target audience be a little bit older than Sesame definitely opened up a new world of curriculum possibilities, and the whole thing just felt thrilling. It really did. And just some of the best times, some of the best 10 years of work that you can even call work. It was a blast from day one. And I was able to write lyrics with Paul for our stuff and with Chris for our stuff, and able to write scripts as well, which was a blast for me. And it was just an incredible experience. It really was.
And out of the millions of things Sarah did, we should point out that Sarah and Paul wrote that wonderful theme song that everyone still remembers when they think of our show.
Uh-huh.
But that's one of many things, but it's one that sticks in my mind.
Definitely.
Wonderful. And next is Peter.
Hi. Oh, I was a paralegal for the show and made sure that they did some copies. No,
Carnivorous
yeah,
paralegal.
that's right. Peter, I played Theo, except for one season when my friend Tim Lagasse did a beautiful job
A
playing
terrible
Theo.
job, a terrible, horrible
You
job.
hush. You hush your whore mouth.
Let's
And
go. Tim should be proud of yourself what you did.
Gawain from Gawain's Word, among others. And I was invited with a bunch of these people on the screen to come to table reads at Chris's house, where we would read some of these scripts, and then we'd read it through, and then maybe we'd read a different script, and somebody else you'd read a different character. And I assume that was giving Chris and Norman and Sarah and others a chance to figure out who might possibly work best for each of these characters. And I really wanted to do Lionel. I was like, oh, I got a great Lionel. I'm going to be Lionel. And then the workshops that happened after the initial table reads, it fell to me. I got the crushing blow that I was to be Theo, the dad. It was not crushing at all.
I never heard the story. This is really
Me either. I never heard that.
Yeah. I really want to. Yeah. I remember Kathy Mullen said, I know you really want to be Lionel, but I think you'd make a really good Theo. I think.
Gotcha.
So
I think she was right.
He was right about that.
Yes, absolutely.
And the rest is history.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. And next is Tyler.
So, I was also one of the on-camera talent and on-microphone talent and under-camera talent, and I think I'm talented. Was not brought in until the puppet workshop phase that Peter was talking about. And honestly, I don't know who to credit for putting my name on the list. I was starting to cut my teeth with some nice roles on other kids' properties, but I hadn't had as much face time with the Sesame Street folks as others had at that time. So I could probably credit Peter. I don't know who else I could credit for getting me on the list for the workshop. But I was fortunate enough to be involved in the first couple of seasons. I originated Walter Pigeon, which was later taken over by Jim. And I originated Heath of Thesaurus, which was eventually cut because he was too dang expensive to shoot. And
No, but he had a couple of good years.
And I'm really fortunate to get to do some voice work for a lot of the animation.
Don't forget Dr. Nitwhite.
And of course, yes, team
or Dr.
with the brilliant,
as we sometimes call him.
And weren't you also not Prometheus? Who are you? You fell in love with your statue.
Yeah, so that was when I say that, on camera / on mic. So I was talking about did some voice for some of the animated pieces, the Evil Unpeople and Re-People and some of the other transitional things.
Narrated Cliffhanger for the last
for a little while.
You did an amazing job.
You did most of the voiceovers on the show, actually. I think you were kind of like the other voice of the show.
Yeah. Apparently, Paul had written a beautiful song, and there was a piece that was supposed to be performed by Meatloaf.
Yes, indeed.
And it turned out he couldn't work out his schedule to be there. So
you were our first choice, Tyler, really.
Oh, yeah, right, whatever. And again, I don't know whose brilliant suggestion was give Tyler a shot at it. I did have to go through an audition process. But the one episode called Hug, 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 which is about Pygmalion, I got to be, human being on the set. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Nice. And next is Jim.
Oh, well, originally for the show, we were shooting at the time Wubbleless World of Dr. Seuss, and Kathy Mullen one day just walked up to me and says, "Your shop builds puppets, right?" And I'm like, yeah. Wow. Started telling me about the show. So I said, sure. So we had a meeting shortly after that. And anyway, make a long story short, originally I was just one of the builders of all the lions puppets, and I did a lot of the mech puppets, little click puppets, the pigeons and stuff. She talked to me about puppeteering on it too. But honestly, it's kind of a weird story. You probably never heard this too, but I got on the phone with the producers from WGBH, and I had just come off of a full season of Bear the Big Blue House where we had so much fun. Peter was there. He knows how much fun we had on that show. And the producers from GBH just so turned me off. They were just so weird.
Now.
And no, not you.
That's a different podcast. That's a different podcast.
I hope you're not listening, Bridget Sullivan.
Well, I'm just. And I kept like, question, and she wouldn't answer it. Then she finally said, "Look, do you want to work on the show or not?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I think you're right. I don't want to work on the show." So I sit down, and Kathy Mullen called me. "What are you doing?" I said, "I got to be honest with you. These people are weird. I don't know if I want to." And then he was really busy trying to finish the puppets. So, but anyway, I ended up coming back for season 2 and had a great time. It was fine. So, and we were plenty busy with the puppets. So, I think right up until shooting day, we were finishing up all those puppets. So that was sort of a contribution in the beginning. Getting those done with my partners in the shop downtown. So.
It's wonderful.
I'm gonna speak for Jim for a minute and say that he built some of the most innovative mechs and puppets that have been on children's television for this
for
show.
sure.
This show, he's the other half. This show does not happen without Jim.
Of course, we
Kroupa.
can't forget about
and the
that.
the magic that he and 3 Design did to make this show happen. Really, is understated.
Buster.
Absolutely.
Lots of
Cadillac puppets to work. Absolute Cadillacs, just the best.
Oh yeah, Stradivarius is
fabulous puppets.
Wonderful puppets. And next is the wonderful Jen Barnhart.
Hey, so I was unlike everybody else who had all worked on a bunch of other shows. I was working in an office when they were assembling the team for Between the Lions. I had done one other 3-camera shoot series with Tim Lagasse and Heather Ash, and when they were having auditions for the show, Tim passed my name along to Kathy Mullen, and she said, "I don't know who that is." And Tim said, "Oh, I went to puppet college with her at University of Connecticut. You need to meet this girl for her voice alone because no one sounds like her." And so she saw fit to call me in for an audition, and Tim was there at the audition at Chris Cerf's house, which was great. I was very glad that Tim was there because I'm walking in and I'm seeing Emmys on the shelf and I'm in Chris Cerf's house. What is happening? How is this my life right now? How is Kathy here auditioning me?
I can imagine.
Oh, thank God. Tim is here. I know Tim. He's my friend. Okay. So they had given a couple of asides to me. And it was for Cleo ostensibly. And after I did this first scene or two, Kathy said, "Okay, that was good. Throw out the script. This time he's playing Lionel and you're playing Leona. You want him to read him a bedtime story and he doesn't want to do it. And you have to convince him to do it. Go." So it was improv exercise. Okay, let's construct the scene. Okay, great. Sing a song. Sing a couple songs. All right, let's go back to the scenes. I auditioned for an hour. And I remember my arm being ready to fall off. Thankfully, I didn't have the actual puppet to audition with. If I had, I think I would have broken down crying. Because the beautiful mech work that Jim Kroupa does, this girl was really not very versed in mechs. And I do have a story about that later. But they're iMechs, and I think that Jim Kroupa and Tim Lagasse can both speak to the particular fun of that eye mechanism. Anyway, so I auditioned for the show, and I didn't think I would get it because I didn't have a lot of experience. And I was invited not to the table read, but to the puppet workshop and I've never worked on a show like this before or since, where they said, "We're doing this series. We're hiring an ensemble. We're going to put different pairings together. We're going to workshop different relationships and see what feels right for the show." And it was an incredible gift to get to have that time to create ensemble with my fellow performers and to just get to play. And in a way, I thought, pressure's already off. I've already got the job. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm here. This is amazing. So the fact that I got Cleo was astonishing. And she was my first big break. She was my girl. So
yes,
love her dearly.
Absolutely. And then next would be the wonderful Tim Lagasse.
I don't know about wonderful, but we'll say Tim Lagasse. That's fine. So I had been I'm Tim Lagasse. I'm a puppeteer and a puppet builder and a puppet weirdo. And I've been working with Kathy Mullen on Kathy Mullen at the time had been making all these weird projects, live things, and she'd been bringing me in to kind of help her out, and this kind of came around, and I was so lucky to be able to be part of it. I play Artie Smarty Pants, Barnaby B. Busterfield III, Gus the Bunny came around later. But
right.
my favorite thing was I played monkeys.
Yes.
When Kathy was talking
Those
to
are
me,
always funny.
Kathy came to me after
Yeah,
the
of
workshop, said,
course.
"I'm sorry you're not a lion," and I'm like, "I'm so relieved I'm not a lion." She's like, "Why?" Like, I don't want to be a main character. You got to play a main character the whole time. You can play one thing. I got to play everybody else. Any of these weird things. I was a rock. I was a playing card. I was a greeting card. I was I was everything weird. Tyler and I got to play all the weird stuff, which was
Fuzzy
great.
Wuzzy.
Every day, something different.
Oh,
Every
Fuzzy
day, something
Wuzzy,
new.
the best.
And if you were bored, you grabbed a monkey and you went in the background and you tried to throw the scene. That was the best, that was the best part. But the other great, wonderful part was that we made a lot. The innovative thing about the show was all these other little films that we made to teach the things. It had that kind of that structure, and we wanted to make all these weird little puppet films, and which is my joy. I love doing TV puppetry, but I love making little tiny weird puppets that with single purpose puppets and stuff like that. And we got to make all these. And when we weren't upstairs shooting, and that was great that I wasn't a lion because they were upstairs shooting lion stuff, and I'm down in the basement with little tiny puppets and little cardboard sets, making Icarus and
Red
Sam Spud and
Bowel Boot Camp.
Bowel Boot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What? Bowel Boot Camp?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Love that segment.
That's no building. I made an exclamation point and stuck it on a
Okay.
G.I. Joe doll. Okay, that's all it is.
Appreciation.
There's nothing to this puppet.
That's so good.
Don't ask me how much I sold it to GBH for, but no, I don't.
I have to interrupt for just a second to tell you all something I was going to mention later, but we've been working, as some of you, Peter and Jen especially know, on using these things in schools. And the schools love Bowel Boot Camp. So we were just looking at the
Nice.
exclamation point sergeant a few days ago.
I look at him every day.
See him live.
He sits on the wall. He's on the wall over here. But yeah, so I got to make always little weird puppets. Excuse me, pardon me. I need to talk here. Probably no one remembers me from Roodles at all. No one remembers me.
Oh, little red hand.
Wow.
Little red
Yes.
hand.
I'm the rooster from Roodles. Hi everyone. How are you? It's good to see you guys. Thank you. But it was, I mean, the show kept me very busy doing a lot of different things all things that I love. And it was some of the best years of my life. And I'm so internally grateful to be part of this, the weirdness that was Between the Lions.
And
Yeah.
and last is Pam Arciero.
Yes. So I was in the initial talk through read throughs, but there was a conflict in the Sesame Street schedule. So I sort of pulled myself out of that initial thing because I knew I couldn't. My commitment to Sesame Street at that time, I think we were shooting 4 or 5 months a year. It was a very long shoot. And so you kind of had to choose which you were going to commit yourself to 100%. So I, at that time, did not commit 100%. I came in a couple of times, did some shows when I had the time, and I did backgrounds with Timmy, did monkeys, did things like odd little things. And then Kathy was moving on from the show, and I was called in to audition and to replace Leona. And I went in and I loved Leona always. I loved what Kathy did with Leona. So it was very intimidating to come in and try and replace the great Kathy Mullen, who is one of the world's best puppeteers. And so I went into audition, and I remember being pretty nervous, but feeling good about the audition. And then I walked out and I thought, oh, I don't know. And they called me before I was even out of the door and said, come back up. We want to talk to you. So I actually got it before I had left the building. They called me back to be Leona.
Wow.
So, which was a delightful, wonderful blessing in my life. And one of the happiest shows I've ever worked on. And one of my favorite characters I've ever got to do has been Leona Lion. She's just so special. I came in season 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I think we did how many, 13 seasons or something crazy?
We did 10.
10.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
11 years on the air, but 10
Yeah.
seasons.
Okay. So I did the last 7 seasons.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's all.
Yes, you're right on that, Pam.
That's all.
I share Leona's character with Kathy. I will never. She did an incredible job of laying the
Absolutely.
groundwork for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And I forgot to mention earlier, Heather Ash, she says hello. She sends her best wishes to everybody.
Oh,
Yes.
might be here.
Heather,
Yes.
who's click the mouse.
You're the best, Heather.
Click the mouse. Yes.
Yeah, click.
Play
yeah.
Pigeon. Yeah.
Monkey Pop-Up Theater. She was the Monkey Pop-Up Theater.
Monkey Pop-Up
Which
Theater.
is a wonderful.
Marmy Smarty Pants.
Oh, Smarmy,
Yeah.
Marmy, Smarty. Oh my God, the
Right.
funniest thing
Yeah,
she ever
exactly.
did. Oh, I couldn't get through a scene with Smarmy, Marmy. Oh God, so funny.
Those. Oh,
The
those are so
flirtation that
funny.
Smarty Pants had with Dean Gordon. Dean, we're at work. Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird, Jim.
You know what I was thinking
Oh,
of?
he's awesome.
I was watching, there's been a number of commercials lately with two pigeons talking.
Yes.
Have you seen them? Or two live, they're,
It's like a cell phone
that
company.
new technology is it enables you to have live, what that look like live pigeons talking. And I was wondering, did they get that from us?
Could we sue them?
I
mean, you never know.
It was
Walter and Clay. It was Walter and Clay Pigeon, we should mention.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right, Walter and Clay.
I was also wondering if we had that technology now, would we do that with real pigeon, use that technique instead? I don't know.
I'm gonna forget you said that. I'm gonna forget you said that, Norman.
Well, that requires some different kind of puppeteering.
Well, yeah, because that's the animation and puppet question.
Right,
basically. Would you have done them as cartoons? It's sort of the same question for me.
Well, it's almost, but aren't they puppeteered in some way? Those
No, they're animated in post. They're animated later.
In post?
Yeah.
Oh, are they? Oh,
They
really?
do the voiceover. It's just like animation. Yeah, they're not done live.
All right.
Very expensive.
It is very expensive.
Now.
Well, I don't know. Have you all tried AI yet?
For writing?
For writing and animation and puppetry and all of it.
Oh yeah.
Just push a button and it all gets done.
Well, no,
you can't hug AI, and AI can't go on.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Very
Well, I
true.
know that's all. I just ordered him a girlfriend.
Plus, there's the notion of what was so amazing about those two pigeons is there was so much articulation. So one of the things I remember in the workshop is Anthony Asbury was being considered to play Walter. Who played Lionel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was being considered for Walter first, but he sits there in his beautiful slacks and shirt provocatively unbuttoned by two buttons, rolled up with his legs crossed, and he's like, I don't want to do all this stuff. So he holds the center of the puppet and starts giving people over to do all the different mechy parts because he just wants to do the mouth. And I was kind of watching it go and over and looking at it, and he did it for about 20 minutes, and then it's like, oh, let's switch around. So I went and I was like, so this does what? And I had all the mechs in my hand, and I just did it by myself, And I kind of saw him.
Which is the way.
You should just let him do it. You should just let him do it because you should just let him
know. We went through that with the Irish rat too. That little white rat we built.
Oh, right.
The character, but he only wanted to deal with the lip sync. So I think I animated it through all the scenes because it was something used to. But once you got the hang of it, it was fine. But no, Anthony said, I can't do this. You, I'll just work the lip sync thing. I said, all right, go on.
And it's more that it's just fine that all of that articulation being able to come from a singular performance and a live performance.
Yeah.
The being those happy accidents and seeing the thing actually breathe. That's one of the other things that to me is missing with the animation stuff. Per Peter's notion of. The existential, you can't give it a hug. The existential, it can't be in the room. It's not reflecting real light. It's not obviously, it's not tangibly interacting with the environment and with the other characters in the scene. And something about your brain clocks that. And that's one of the things with young forming minds. They may not realize why it doesn't look right. They just know it doesn't look right. And that moment of disengagement means you may have lost them, for the series, much less that moment or that episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a privilege to hear puppeteers of your caliber here to talk about this. I just want to say it's really It's lovely. You don't get to hear these things articulated as often as I would
Right.
like. I love hearing your perspective, Tyler, at all.
Well, and even with films where there are CG characters or AI or whatever, you still have to have a puppeteer laying the foundational work. And if with Ryan Reynolds, he had to have a scene partner to relate to. That puppeteer, Eric Wright, was in character and received notes from the director, had a relationship with Ryan Reynolds' character, was a performer, was an actor in this piece. So it lays the foundation for everything else that can follow. So it's still essential.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's still essential when you're doing live action with something in it. If you're doing it all animation, there, which is then.
Or you combine it. You have the live stuff going on with the CG. Use the CG to enhance. I mean, you look at the original Jurassic Park. If you took away all the stuff that Stan Winston did in that film and went with CG, then it would not have been the same effect. A real foot crunching down that. I'm just saying, there's
right. Yeah.
There are some things you can't fake, no matter how good it is.
Right.
For sure.
You can't prove to me it's in the room. You have to go, you have to get something, bump into something to knock it over. That you do stuff like that to make like it's in the room, And also, it's like accent too. Puppets have flaws, and I think the flaws add to their character and in performance and in just the look of the puppet. It's kind of like, fake siding. When you look at siding, it never really looks like wood siding, even though they put that wood grain pattern that repeats itself every 3 feet. You know what I mean? That's
a great analogy. I love that.
Really?
The CG stuff, to me, it's almost too perfect.
I completely agree with all that. I mean, that's so true. I think in all art forms, the flaws, in quotes, mistakes, the things that went wrong as you started to create it, all of a sudden become the things that make it different. What's the thing in improvisation? You're always supposed to say yes.
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. It's that kind of thing that you should be saying yes, and when you're creating something. You have an idea in your mind for what you want to do, and it doesn't quite go the way you want it to go. And if you say, forget it, you're dead. But if you say, oh, what's in this? What's in this mistake that's going to take me somewhere that I didn't expect? If you go to where that you didn't expect it, well, the audience is going to go somewhere they didn't expect. You know what I mean? It takes you to something that is sort of beyond the conscious.
Happy accidents.
Happy accidents,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. So since we're talking about animation, this is kind of a question that just kind of came to my mind, and Chris and Norman, you might be able to better answer this. Because this is something that I guess is not super known, but what went into animating the theme song? Who animated the opening for the show?
Oh, I
If
can't
you
remember
know.
their names. They were wonderful.
It was balls.
They're the people who did the opening of Fargo. Randy Bolsmeyer.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And he had a partner whose name I can't remember right now, but I'll look it up and tell you in a minute. So talk amongst yourselves. But we did have wonderful animation.
Everett. Ballsmeyer Everett.
That's right.
Yes. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, beautiful opening. Beautifully done opening.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a CG click.
Of course.
I remember lending them the puppet, and they scanned the puppet and created that. That was not the actual puppet. And in a way, that's the
right.
What I'm saying is, it's all too smooth. The way the puppet animated. I mean, it's great for the opening. It worked because the whole style way approach, the look of it was fine. But you can see the difference then. I mean, technology now is way out there. They can really do it good now. But there's just something about it being practical that there's nothing else like it. It's unique itself, and I think better. Putting it plainly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious about the recording of that theme. Before they did it, you and Paul figured out to the second what it was going to be, right? And made a track that they worked from.
You
Sarah
talking?
Durkee?
Oh, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Yes, we well, for the visuals to be cut to the track timeline, you
But
mean?
you actually had the African singers and all kinds of things.
For sure.
Yeah.
There was those Ladysmith type backgrounds, and you guys were talking so much about the very, very origins of some of your experiences when you were auditioning for the show for you puppeteers and stuff, and you flashed me back concerning the theme to me sitting there with my little notebook with you and Norman and singing the theme song to you, just beating it out the rhythm on my thigh as I was trying. I was just thinking, are they going to understand why this is going to work? And and you were so generous with your praise immediately. There was just something about all being on board with the spirit of it, the slightly African tonalities it was going to have, the backup singers we would use, the whole thing. We all felt like, even with just me singing it a cappella, breaking it down with my rhythm with my hand, we all felt on the same page about what that was going to sound like, and probably for Chris, you and Normie, what it was going to look like. But yeah, we did have some. Paul had a lot of input with the singers about what it was about what would be cut into it, but honestly, the animators would be able to say much more than I about that aspect, about the visuals that were cut in that were put in.
Right.
We should, while we're talking about this, mention Cindy Mizell.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Lead singer,
talented Cindy.
One of the great things that Paul helped do, but that we all wanted to do right from the beginning, was have the best musicians in the world, rather than just, the point is, if they're being paid scale, why do you hire somebody who's not great when a great musician could be paid at most twice as much and probably less than that.
Yeah.
So we got Cindy Mizell, whose dad wrote a lot of the Motown songs, and Cindy made a lot of Motown records, and she sings the hell out of that song.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful.
of course.
And many others that she did for the show later.
Yes,
and Paulette McWilliams was another a star from behind the scenes. They did the vowels and phonics.
Nikki Richards.
They were Nikki Richards. She did touring with the Rolling Stones and sang for us.
There you go.
Wow, that's
From Rolling Stones to
She
Lions.
cared much more about us than
awesome.
she did about the
That's
Stones.
wow.
I've done a few cons with Leona and done meet and greets. And at one of them at Gen Con last summer, these two lovely young African-American women saw Leona, came in and sang the whole song a cappella, standing there. It was so cute. I was so shocked and so moved. It was so beautiful. And they did it. They did the harmonies. They did all kinds of
that's
stuff.
fantastic.
Wow.
Did you find those kids? I would love to know if we could video them.
I
Do you
just
think
know.
you know who they are? No.
There was like 1,000 people coming through,
yeah.
and they just breezed through. But yeah, there is a YouTube video of these young women singing the song too.
I'll have to look for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a great video. I don't know if any of you have seen this, of a song that Sarah and I wrote called "When Two Valves Go Walking."
Love that song.
I love that song. Yeah.
But there was a group. There's a group of teachers in South Korea who had signs, and they were on stage and acted this out in an incredibly elaborate way.
Wow.
Which is on YouTube. You can see it still. I recommend it.
That's
great.
Yeah, what I was just
I'm
thinking.
gonna go get Paul just to poke his head in and say hi.
Yeah, where is Paul?
Yes, please.
Here, but I think you're all aware that Paul is he has some issues that memory issues, so he wouldn't be contributing quite as much. But then again, he might surprise us.
Okay,
that would be.
You never know. Okay.
Oh,
you know what? Greatest,
nice.
Greatest musicians, composers that ever lived.
We missed something. We should have done more music in the style of the opening.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we were going back to the studio. When are you guys available?
Yeah.
Whenever.
Well,
I've
don't
been
laugh.
getting nothing.
Oh,
going
Leona's
on.
here.
Hi, Leona.
Hey, hang on, my eyes. Oh, there they are.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you. Look at you guys all.
Yeah.
my
Have
goodness.
changed a lot.
I know.
Hey, hey.
I think for me it's 25 years of wrinkles
Nah,
added. Yes.
wrinkles here.
I
How do
think
you
actually
keep
Norman.
yourself so nice?
Of everybody, I think Norman looks the most unchanged. But yeah. How do you
She's
do it,
been
Leona?
four and a half.
Let me get closer, take off the glasses, and show you how the eye flaps come down.
Oh, God.
Oh, I do that
Show
too,
you that? Hey, how you
Thank you for
doing there,
that.
everybody? Oh, the Mechie is stuck. The Mechie. It's the Mechie is stuck. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah. Get Kroupa.
Oh.
Fix his eye.
There's Paul.
Oh, here's Paul.
Hey,
Paul.
Hello, Paul.
Hi.
Paul Jacobs.
Yes.
Paul
Hello.
over in
Good to meet you,
Bridgeton.
Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hi.
Hi.
Wait. I want this guy wants to say hi to Paul.
Oh, wait.
Oh, it's Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
Well, I just wanted to say hi to Mr. Paul Jacobs.
Oh,
Yay.
Hi there.
I shaved
You're-
today. Otherwise,
Wait,
I'd look like you.
Oh, Cleo's here too.
You're a very
Hi.
handsome man.
It's so exciting to see all you guys. I could cry. I really
Again.
could cry to see those three puppies.
Oh
And
my!
to see you,
I
Paul.
remember
Chris.
my favorite song that you two ever wrote. SH, man, I love letters. SH, when you shove them
On your next cabaret show, Leona.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have you do that.
Love it so much. You wrote the
Hey,
best
Norm.
song. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Yeah, great song.
Oh.
I mean,
Love
Cleo.
you.
Oh,
And minuscule and humongous, and you sang a bunch of weird little. Wrote a whole bunch of Gilbert and Sullivan style songs that I did in toy theater.
And,
That were
and
all
what
different.
about
Oh,
op?
right, I remember
What was
him.
the op song? What was that op song we did?
if you can read. Oh,
Which one?
Then you can read. Oh, I don't know the words.
Oh, if you can read.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
Paul sang
the
that.
other one.
Hey,
Paul
okay.
sang
They
those.
write meat shower.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shower.
And I can tell you
Not
again,
the
the teachers we've been working with think that's the best song for teaching in the whole show. So
Meat shower?
you guys should be
Meat
proud
shower.
of that. For teaching
It still
phonics.
still sticks in my head, man. Meat shower is one of the songs. Yeah.
It's not the kind of
Meat
shower
shower,
that
meat
can get
shower,
you
meat-
wet.
Meat shower, meat shower, meat shower.
It's so good.
Oh,
And also
that's great.
the polka. Do you remember, Jim, the polka that you and Smarmy did, where you just went R R R R R R R R R something like that.
I don't remember that.
The Artie and Smarmy's
Pennsylvania
polka.
I don't remember that at all.
I'll send
I
it
don't
to you. It's
remember that.
really funny.
That's amazing.
I only had my
There's
one
Artie
hit.
Smarty Pants. That's who I miss.
I miss it. The weirdest puppet that was ever made.
Yes, I agree with you. You know, it's the closest puppet. I don't think Michael Frith has ever designed a puppet ever like Artie Smarty Pants. That was
Neither has anyone else.
I know, but this was so far away from the kind of designs that he used to do.
That's right.
And I love that puppet. Yeah.
What a creep show, huh?
Where are the Smarty Pants now? Do you know, Norman?
No, I don't.
Wonder
No.
who has Artie Smarty Pants.
What I love is that if you go on YouTube and look up any of the Artie Smarty Pants stuff, you'll see comments under it where people are like, I thought this was a fever dream from my childhood. This is a real thing.
Or they'll say he scares me.
Even there's like there's a time where like I post something on Instagram, it's just a Dance and Smarty Pants song just for why not, and then there's like over 500
Dance and Smarty
likes on
Pants.
there, and like which is like.
So we don't know where Artie went. Jim, you didn't have Kroupa?
Well, a lot of that stuff was in a warehouse.
So like, all right.
I had his pants for a while, but they disintegrated.
That's what I was wondering.
Well,
take that out of context.
He wouldn't eat a lot.
But I tried to wear, but you know, that's because I was trying to wear them all the time. You know.
You look good too.
Yeah, I look pretty good. in
What did
those.
you say, Kroupa, about the puppet?
we used to be in 14th Street, but we closed that place down. A lot of those puppets got shipped to WGBH.
Oh,
Might have been one of them that ended up there, but oddly enough, he would have been the only one that really didn't rot a lot because there was no Scott foam in him. It was all like the harder foam.
All plastic and human hands.
Yeah. So
Human hand.
so if he's around, I don't know that the what's missing. We cannot find. We loaned Busterfield to an exhibit at UConn. We got the body back. We never got the head back. And I told Bart, was convinced it got shipped. So I don't know what happened, but there's
somebody ran off with it.
Well,
probably.
I am devastated. I love that puppet. That is my favorite puppet that I have ever been able to work. It was challenging and weird.
It took like 4 people to do it.
No.
All 10. List
All
those
10.
mechs.
Really?
So Jim came in and the thing had 3 different mechs for 3 different people to do it, and I went, just give it to me. And I was like, why? Like, I want to try it. I want to try it.
That's crazy. Wow.
So we drilled 2 different mechs together so I could move the nose and the mustache and the eyebrows. I had them all on one, and then my hands inside him, and I had a foot pedal for the top of the head.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Right, and then the hardest part was the pupils that moved because I was just moving them with my middle finger. But the way they're mech'd, if you want the puppet to look upright, you have to move your finger down left.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you want it to look left, you had to go right. You had to right, left, but
right.
It was the opposite. So I'm lip syncing and I'm moving this finger around, making sure the eye focus was correct. And this hand is doing the nose and the mustache and the eyebrows.
Wait, nose, mustache, eyebrow,
eyes,
top of the head.
Top of the head, lids. Lids now.
The nose moved. The
nose wiggled.
Right. Yes.
I was a crazy person. I was megalomaniacal, and I said, "Let me try it."
Ears. Remember, came out of his ears. We could shoot the.
Right. That's right. He did have hoses in his ears. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
What I love is, we as writers, we sit down and we put these words on the page, and we say, "Go ahead, go do it. Go
do it.
Go ahead, go do it."
That's funny.
Oh God.
Well, we should all. I also want to talk for a second because I alluded to this earlier. So Jim Kroupa makes beautiful mechanisms. Tim Lagasse knows how to make them sing. On my first day of the show, Tim knows the story I'm about to tell. On my first day of the show. First of all, I should explain that at rest, Cleo's eyes are fully closed. So in order for me to open her eyes, I have to have concentration pulling a little slide inside the top palate in order for that to happen. Now, here I was, again, still very green, very new. So for the first couple of episodes, Cleo just spent most of her time like this. I was terrified of the mech. I was absolutely terrified of it. But on the very first day, I got food poisoning. So I couldn't hear that day.
Well, what a great first day.
No.
Wow. Oh,
I got food poisoning.
That's terrible.
I remember lying on the couch in my dressing room, and I could see the TV monitor of what they were filming, and I'm sipping Gatorade and chewing on ice chips to try to just not throw up anymore. And I watched Tim. They were like, "Oh well, Tim will just puppeteer it, and then you can lip sync it later, or you can ADR it. You can put the voice in later." And Tim, I was so mad. I was watching him do it, and he was just doing all this subtle little finessey things. He was like, "Oh, we would." Would we? And all of this beautiful stuff with the eyes, little squints, little blinks, blink, blink, blink. And I was just like, I'm going to punch him. Oh my God, they're going to fire me because I'm sick. And I'm going to punch him because I can do that. Oh God.
But she didn't have very nice words for me when I showed up to the. I went into her dressing room.
No.
Like, is that okay? She's like, "Fuck you." Like, oh my God, Tim. I can't believe.
Kinda. I mean, it was meant as a thank you, but it didn't come out that way.
No, but the story size.
Yeah.
Who designed the original designs for all the puppets and all these sketches? He came up to me after the puppet was built and delivered, and I remember him maybe calling me or something, and he says, "Why did you make the eyes? The mechanisms normally the eyes would be open, and you would activate them to close the eyes." So I said, "Michael, pull out a single drawing you sent me of Cleo where her eyes are open." because he had those eyes like Janice has on the Muppet Show. They're just
Right.
Yeah.
we decided to put Max in
Right.
so you would see the eyes. And he was like, "Oh, good point. Oh, good point. Yes, I see. I did that."
The
So
way he
that
would say it too. Yeah.
but even better with Jen. So when you build these puppets, you want to know who's doing them. But I guess it wasn't cast. So Jen's mech, is being worked by her middle finger. There's a slide inside that you're pulling back on your middle finger, and a lot of times you work with your pinkies. When your hand goes into a head, there's grips and stuff that have to be in place so your fingers just slide in and lock the head onto your hand. Then you can be able to do your fingers separately. Well, nobody ever told us Jen was left-handed, so I mounted as if a right-handed puppeteer, because most puppeteers are right-handed, and it's a blessing when you get a left-handed puppeteer, because when you got a stack underneath, it actually helps. But nobody ever told me. But the fortunate thing here, the puppet was a good-sized puppet, and there still was room to hollow out the one side of the head, so Jen had somewhere to slide her pinky, which normally just floats inside there. So I never knew she was left-handed till after the puppet was built and delivered.
Wow.
And what's funny is I actually never used the ring that you put in there. I never used it for my forefinger. Because I found that just doing this, I would fatigue. So I would anchor my ring finger in the ring that was on that side of the palette, and I would alternate between my index finger and my middle finger because I just would burn out. I didn't have the tendon strength.
Well, that's my fault too. I'm always using the middle finger, so I got it's built up very well.
That is you.
Oh, I knew somebody was going to say that.
So yes, but that happened. And the eye thing, I was like, I thought it was spot on to the drawings, and it was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. So anyway,
they are beautiful puppets. I mean, we do have to say that Michael did a fabulous job of design.
Incredible.
Yeah, of
Unbelievable.
course. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, Michael's one of those rare people that, again, he's done it. He's in the business. He's one of those people like my partner at 3 Design at the time, Matt Stoddard, could draw or design a character that you could build. And a lot of times, because proportions are really unique on puppets, because you only have you have like 18 inches over your head to hold it up. And you get drawings from other designers that puppet shows we worked on and said, these are great sketches. Now we're going to design puppets out of them because there's no way that puppet's getting on screen unless you want to shoot this in a green screen world with, people dressed in green outfits behind them because the proportions are all off. So Michael, of course, there's no issue there because he's, designing the Muppets and all the stuff. He has that in him. So that really helps when you're dealing with somebody else's sketches. When we're not doing the original designs and stuff. So
yeah,
but they were great. They were great. I can remember sitting one weekend watching pigeons, and they were doing that weird sort of like when they go across. And I said, "That's what I got. That's all you have to do. Get that bottle thing happening where they always their heads like this when they walk.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the mech. We got to do that.
That's all you have to do."
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, sorry about that.
Nothing. I just said, "Oh yeah, easy." So.
There you go. Okay. So before we move on to other things to talk about going on the show. Now, of course, I want to ask to you both, Chris and Norman. Now, what was like your both works on Sesame Street kind of like influence, like kind of like the approach they both kind of took with Between the Lions? If that makes any sense?
For me, my experience mostly was this wonderful collaboration that I felt I had with the writers. I really look. I saw myself as being there to sort of unify the vision, because everybody's got ideas that are wonderful, but maybe there's one little thing that needs a little tweak so that they all fit together, so that there's a sort of a general feel from script to script that it's the same show. And I also loved my experience at Sesame Street, where a writer would come in and we'd have so much fun working on the script. We would laugh. I don't know that the writers would all say that it was that much fun, because I was, sometimes changing things and whatever, but I had a great time, and I was always looking forward to working with writers as a group when we would sort of brainstorm bigger ideas and but on each script. And that's the kind of feeling that I wanted to get with all the writers. One of the things that I did on Sesame Street was I never was in charge of deadlines. I said that's a producer's job.
Right.
Right? If you want to manage the deadlines, you manage them. I'm on the writer's side. I don't like deadlines. I don't want to manage them. So I'm not going to manage them. So now I get to Between the Lions and with WGBH, their head writers are in charge of deadlines. And they said to me, well, there's a deadline here for whatever. I remember exactly what it was. And I said, I don't do deadlines. Boy, did they not like that. I said, I don't do that. I said, that's not my job. My job is to be on the side of the writers, to argue for the segments, I'll make changes if I feel it doesn't hurt the script or whatever, whatever. But I'm not managing deadlines. Boy, did that cause trouble. Oh, man. Well, they didn't like me anyway. No, I mean, that's the truth. For me, the first 2 years, the first 2 years were the best 2 years. It was the time when Chris and I and all the creative team had the most freedom to create the show that we wanted to create. After the first 2 years, when those budget issues came to bear, Judy and all those other folks started to have more and more influence. And as the years went on, they became more in charge of the creative. And it was a battle. It was a very difficult and unfriendly battle. So I have to say the last couple of years were my most unhappy time as a writer on a show. It was really painful for me to work on the scripts. When I got into the studio, it was great because I was working with you guys and the brilliant work that you do, and one of the most painful moments in my career has been to see Judy and what's her name get Emmys. Beth Kirsch get Emmys for writing. That was
and Bridget won an Emmy too.
Huh? And
Bridget Sullivan won an Emmy.
Bridget's I didn't mind that, but Emmys for writing for Judy and Beth was about as painful a moment as I could possibly imagine.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Norman, that's the whole business now. The art of it is kind of slipping away, and when the show becomes a business, that's what turns me off. It's like, really, let's argue for a half hour about reshooting 10 seconds of footage. That would be better because we screwed up, as artists. That those things happen.
Yeah,
and it was never like that. I mean, and it isn't just Between the Lions and stuff. It was constant all the time. I used to tell, I said, pretend it's a lighting issue or there's an electronic issue or something like that. If you won't, and if that justifies giving me the 2 minutes to rig this right, but if there's a light that needs to be tweaked, we're going to stop the shoot and let the guy go do the pole, for as long as it takes. Yeah. It's a weird sort of lack of respect, and when you're writing, the art of writing for puppets is incredibly unique. You can't have anybody show up and do it because you're rewriting it on the set to get it done because
Well, the puppeteers create a lot of. That's what I was thinking of. All the songs I would do on Sesame Street, I would try to write some lead-ins to them, and it was what the Muppets did with it.
Yes, of course.
That make you sound like a genius.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, this is Between the Lesions with
but I do want to say
the creators of.
It's really important to follow up on what Norm you were saying And what Jim was saying is the fun that we have creating the show is what makes it a good show. And when the writers don't get to do that, and the more and more that you're being kind of forced into a template, I think a lot of the joy goes out of the writing because it's just not fun for us anymore.
Yeah.
We always did a show that we loved. I love Between the Lines as much as any other show that I watched, you know?
Yeah.
And Sesame, obviously, that's true also.
You know, one
And
of
if
the
we
things
didn't
that-
feel that way, it wouldn't be as good.
You know, one of the things I loved about the first 2 years was how we would take, you know, the Knight from Gwain's Word and put him in the library,
Yeah.
you know, reading a book. But, you know, we had
Yeah.
these little touches that, you know, they were whimsical. They tied the whole show together, and we so enjoyed playing around and having a good time. And those ladies were not in.
Well, I hate to keep dwelling on that, though.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm just saying
No.
they were lousy to work with, and we had an incredible time with about 800 other people. So
Well,
I just want to point that out.
well, all
It
of
was
this
a big
is true,
group.
but I got to tell you how I felt.
Well, I know.
All right, you know, that's
No, I
that's
didn't. I
me.
don't disagree with you. I just
Yeah.
think that we had a great time anyway.
Yeah,
I did.
listen, one of my favorite times of all was going to Mississippi.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
going time in Mississippi. Every that
Throughout
was
the last
so much fun.
7 seasons.
Being there and just because we were away from everything, you know, it was it was like a film shoot in some ways, you know, where you were, you know, and you go in the pool and you go to the Japanese restaurant and you know all of that stuff that we did, and we had so much fun. That was just the best.
And I never expected to fall in
Cafe.
love with. Yeah, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I was talking about the 9:30 Blues Cafe.
Yeah.
Oh, my
God,
God. The
that
other
was
side of the
great.
tracks. Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing music, amazing food, amazing people, amazing relationships with people.
Yeah.
We'll keep in touch with.
I loved working
All
with
came home
Mississippi
talking about
Public
the big
TV. There are a lot of really great people there, and I didn't really expect that. You know,
No.
they were
No.
a wonderful surprise.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So,
What were you saying, Sarah? You
I
just
was
said
just,
something.
I was just reminiscing about Paul's experience going down to Mississippi, coming back and raving about not only the entire vibe of the set, the people, the experience, but about the pig ear sandwiches.
And the gumbo. And the gumbo.
Yes.
Oh, the
I mean,
gumbo.
what a cool and unexpected treat that
I
ended.
think that was season 4. We moved to Mississippi. Is that what
Oh,
happened?
after season 4. Season 5
Right.
was our first one.
Season
Gotcha.
5. Okay.
Gotcha. So,
Season 4 was actually part of season 3, as you may remember.
Right, because they only had like
Three and
oh,
four
yeah, because they were like
shot together.
a little amount of
So you're
episodes.
kind
yeah.
of right, Pam.
Yeah.
There was an
Yeah.
amazing smokehouse behind a gas station that made ribs, and they were incredible. And I remember one of the times that I was down there leaving, and I left my carry-on empty so I could take 7 slabs of ribs bring home and put in my freezer and give as presents to people. And I thought it was a great idea until I got on the plane. And I'm on the plane, and I'm like, oh God, it smells like barbecue. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, everybody here must hate me so much.
You could have sold those ribs on the plane. You could have made money. I'm just saying.
Her inner carnivorous Cleo comes to light.
You know what? While we're talking about Mississippi, I want to mention Senator Thad Cochran.
Yes.
A name that may not mean much to everyone, but he really has got our show done for the last 6 years because he believed we were helping Mississippi kids learn to read, and he helped get us funding and was an incredible friend to the show.
Wow.
So government can do good things.
It's
Or at least they
wonderful.
used to.
They used to.
Yeah.
Used to is operative words.
Yeah.
Wasn't it also sponsored by Chick-fil-A?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did one day in Mississippi. Of all the years you did in Mississippi, I did one day, and it came down. And the one thing I remember about that was that there was free chicken biscuits when you came in the morning. And the
Interesting.
barbecue from that garbage from that
cool.
gas station. I went out at lunch and I got everyone barbecue from that gas
Yeah.
station. That's it. That's my memory
Wow.
of Mississippi.
Huh.
Didn't we
Interesting.
do it, Pam?
What?
Did we do a show in a Chick-fil-A?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Did a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did shows in the Chick-fil-A, and then we
Yep.
went to the headquarters of Chick-fil-A, as a
They
matter
right.
of
threw
Correct.
food at us.
Wow.
They threw chicken nuggets
That's
at
kinda
us. I
cool.
remember that.
They threw chicken nuggets at you.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
Who
boy.
did? Who did? Who
Chicken
threw
Yeah,
them?
I don't remember. We
Yeah,
were tucked back in a
come
corner
on.
booth trying to do
Why?
a show.
Like, what the heck was that? Anyway.
They were trying to feed you.
I was at Chick-fil-A. They never threw anything at us, but my most memorable performance, Jen, was it you and Chris at a Sears in Chicago?
It was you and Rob Gardner.
It was yes.
Chicago
So
with
we did a Between the Lines promotional thing at a Sears in Chicago,
Now, this
and
was 2001,
That
and
was
it
rough.
released all this product, but no one knew the show yet. Is that right?
and also this is the one where they forgot to tell anybody that it was happening, and it was like a Sunday morning in a giant department store with no one there and no fanfare, no signs, they hadn't bothered to tell anybody we were going to be there. So I'm just sitting there with you on my hand, and every 10, 15 minutes, one elderly person walks by, and I'm just,
Well, thank you for shopping at Sears.
And as I recall, Peter, I may have made this up in my own head, but I think there was some big football player or something appearing
That's right.
downstairs at the same time.
It was
Which made
either that
even
or
worse.
it was either that or it was a big game that everyone was staying home to
Yeah.
watch. It was something like
It was
that. Or yeah.
yeah.
So nobody. We saw like 3 people the entire whatever hour and a half we were there.
Well, thank you for shopping at Sears. Okay.
You know, speaking of food, of all of the many
Were we?
speaking of food, yeah.
We're talking about food now.
What's
okay.
cooking? What's cooking with Theo and
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes.
Oh, love that segment.
And
Oh,
there's one
can't
thing.
believe it, get away with it.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's one thing that you guys came up with. It's one of those things that can only happen between two characters who are, with the puppeteers, are so invested in the characters, who are so part of their characters that they come up with something that is, it's like what you were talking about before, when it's really happening. That nosy thing that you guys came up with is so
sweet.
emblematic of their relationship. And it says so much. I mean, that one thing says so much about who they are as individuals and what they are as a couple and who they are as a couple, that loving moment between two adults. And it's got that slightly sexual vibe to it.
That's what GBH. I'll do what you were doing. GBH hated that about it.
Yeah, they didn't like it because it was too
hot. The lines were too hot.
too intimate, yeah.
They have a healthy relationship.
It wasn't just a silly nosy. This was nosy. And
How they were like purr towards each other, things like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
If I was going to give a course and show people something that performers come up with that embodies character and who they are and what their relationship is, that one thing stands out to me. It's just magical. I just
that whole bit.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, everything about that segment.
Well, the French accent that Jen had, I don't know where that came from, but it was so
That was
funny.
in the writing. That was actually in the
that was
writing.
it. But you were hysterical doing that.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think
For
it's
some
a little
reason,
bit of-
Cleo became a French chef.
Yeah, she was a French chef. I mean, that's sort of what was in my head.
Yeah.
I
But the
think
other
one of
thing
my-
I love, which we've done at Sesame too, but because I've worked on sound design a lot, I particularly love it. When Theo would throw the food away because they would be cooking something like meat without peas, and he'd throw the peas away, and there would always be a tremendous crash.
Yeah.
My favorite part was I had because there were so many props to handle. I had the great Tim Lagasse doing both of Theo's hands, And I was just and it was so fun because Tim's incredible with his hand. He's a magician, and literally, and just the stuff that Tim was able to do with the props. And so when Theo was throwing stuff, I mean, it was coordinated between the two of us. But that was Tim.
Okay.
Throwing.
I made a living throwing
piece.
meat. Thank you.
Yes.
You did it brilliantly.
Oh yeah.
Artfully throwing meat.
It's interesting, you know, that core family is such an important thing, that the mom, the dad, and the two kids, it was such the heart of the show, and it made so much happen. And it was a lot about the relationship between Theo and Cleo that carried that. And it's interesting to me now because the most popular children's show at this moment in time is Bluey.
Yes.
It's Bluey.
Yeah.
But a mom and dad and two kids, and that is selling like crazy because
it's huge.
what people want, that's what people are relating to, being a family at this point.
Yeah.
And we had that all the way back.
We did have that. Yep.
Absolutely. So
and a lot of monkeys. And a lot of monkeys.
Monkeys, chickens here
Bye,
and there.
Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Good to see you, Paul.
Thank you for saying hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank
Yes.
you. Back.
It was great to see you, Paul, and see you again in a little bit.
Sarah, thank you. That was a treat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. For
Thank
that.
you, Sarah.
Awesome.
That's
Can I also say I saw Anthony Asbury recently, and he's doing very well. He's had some health challenges, but he's in great shape right now.
Oh,
he's
good.
doing wonderful.
That's awesome.
And in typical fashion, after having just come through some major health stuff, I was at the same event Pam was at. Anthony was the best dressed person at the party.
Absolutely.
always the best.
Except he was lifting his shirt to show his chest because he'd had open surgery.
But he doesn't really need much excuse for that. I mean, let's be honest.
No, he doesn't. He didn't.
His wife was sick too, right?
Yeah, she's fine. She's doing very well. Yeah.
Good.
Well, I'm glad they're doing well. That's great. So
they still have the restaurant, right?
Yeah. Two.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Two restaurants.
So for you, Jim, from a puppet builder standpoint, were there any like characters that were kind of like especially like tricky to build or like maintain?
Yeah, the one character that I'm really sort of proud of, because I sort of just took it upon myself to ignore the designs.
Thank you.
Well, no, it's just when they designed Click, and they actually had Tom Newby working on a remote-controlled Click, because Click is basically a computer mouse, right?
Yeah.
So this thing Tom built, it was beautiful. I mean, Tom's stuff is amazing, but oh my God, there was no way this was ever going to survive the shoot because, first off, it was so delicate to work, it just shoot off the table. Like we were like messing. And then you also figure out to get the puppet to sit up, all the moving parts, nothing hit anything. So there was a lot of mechanical stuff that had to be dealt with. And then you still had to make it look like a computer mouse.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole approach was to get rid of the squarish mouse design. I said, look, it's a puppet. We're going to build a mouse puppet that happens to look like a computer mouse as opposed to a computer mouse that has to act like a puppet. Mm-hmm. And Click became, everything was round. So when you're dealing with a round ball, everything can hide on itself.
Right.
How she became the look she is. And she was tiny. And I was really proud about getting ear movement in her. She had a little lip sync, her head turned, her arms worked. And it was all one ear working everything with one of those multi-trigger things we would do. So that was kind of like a big old challenge because the Click that was happening and it was huge. The other thing, Click was like 3 times the size of a normal mouse. And it isn't going to look right. It's going to look out of scale next to a computer.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, I wish I had heard about your concern that it would flip out, and go sailing off.
Yeah.
So I would have made that part of the character.
Right.
Well,
that's a good example of what you were talking about.
It goes zooming off.
Is how mistakes become part of character.
Right. So we built this mechanical mouse, and even then I said, you know what? I always think of when you do new things like that, they're what I call unproven puppets. You don't know where the wear and tear is. You don't know what's going to happen. So I just built a puppet for a show that was shot in Ireland with a lightning bug puppet, totally all cable controlled, done against blue screen. I said, you got a tight shooting schedule. We're not going to want to build one of these. If something breaks, you're in Ireland, I'm here. But if I could magically get there immediately, you're still going to lose days on your shoot because the puppet's down. Build two. Well, we didn't want to build two in the beginning of Click. So it was the first week of shooting Click, and we're down at the shop trying to finish up Artie, Smarty Pants, all these other puppets. And we get the phone call that Click broke.
Oh.
So I'm on the phone.
Oh, no.
I remember that day.
This? And how did it break? What happened? Tell me what happened. Well, Theo picked up this huge, heavy book and slammed it down the table right on top of Click.
Oh. Oh no.
Theo,
Right.
what
Oh
did
no.
you do?
So partly it's the book fault, right?
I was not doing his hands.
It was a big
Peter.
Anyway, I'm on the phone trying to get this done. And I said, well, wait, let's clarify this. Click didn't break. You broke Click. So, but they were like, there was a flat version of Click, like a flat, and then there was the version that sat up. It was the sit-up version that they smashed and broke it pretty good.
So now there's two flat versions.
Yeah. After that, they said, how much backup Click? So I said, oh, wow, we have the molds. We could, just bang out another one. So we went ahead. We finished the rest of the shoot with two clicks just in case. But nothing ever happened like that again because part of that was the propping. Picking up a giant, heavy, oversized, gigantic book and slamming it down the table. And so the props went out and got a big old heavy book that weighed about 20 pounds and handed it to the puppeteer. I guess it was Peter, or maybe it was your right hand at that point. And it's difficult.
It's my right hand.
It was your
Definitely my right hand.
Yeah, of course it was.
So that was really how it happened. It fault at all. But it's so funny that when things like that happen, you do like what you do. But going forward, any kind of mechanical puppets, we would always say, even the pigeons. We had two versions of the pigeons after the first season. We had the walking version that ran around. Right. Then we had the freestanding ones, like the Muppet Rats, that just work like puppets. We can go anywhere with them. And that's kind of nice because it also gives them a lot more freedom to sneak them in and out of a shot a lot easier and stuff. So
yeah.
Too bad I didn't know that. We could have had a singing group.
Wasn't there like a very early version of Cleo like in the first episode or something?
Right. Yeah, which is if you're talking about Chris, it was the Lucky Duck episode.
Yeah,
where
it was
where it has Lionel has originally has an orange shirt and then just changed to green after that.
Yeah, and then there was a different Cleo puppet.
Well, no, it was the same puppet. But her eye
looked different.
Her eye focus was a little more because you always have to have the eyes a little crossed to help the puppet focus. And I think they were just a little overgrown.
No, you know what happened to that?
Gotcha.
When we
it's just build and all that stuff. Yeah, to kind of
our eyes were countersunk. They weren't stuck on
right. So they fit under the pupil, under the lid.
You had to clear the pupil with the lids.
Yeah.
You predetermine where the eye focus is, best you can, mocking it all up. And we were off a nanu on both eyes, which we'd catch till it was done. And we went, oh my God. But also keep in mind remember the first Theo? Marty Ross, the very first one? And he
the one that weighed 500 pounds?
Yes.
But he was Theo's dad, didn't he? Or his grandfather? He showed up one day.
That's right. I think it was
Cleo's dad.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember
a
story.
Yeah.
Right. I remember a story that Marty was when you guys were just shooting, you're on Lion's lid, it was after Cleo and Theo, the usual nosy, and then Marty saw it and he's like, do you guys always have that infection at the end of every scene or something like that?
Yeah.
And then he really appreciate how him seeing characters parents seeing that kids seeing parents in love on television, which is like it's like kind of
That's
rare to
that's
see,
something
you know?
that Mr. Rogers said to me and Jen. We had a
Exactly.
performance at the White House.
Oh, I love that story.
And I was just I
Such
wanted to
a
seek him out to
wonderful
say
human
hi, but
being.
yeah, he came up to us and he just well, Jen, you probably remember more clearly than I do, but I just remember him saying
yeah.
Just give him a big hug. I said, "Hi, Mr. Rogers,"
I
and
know.
he said, I really loved it. I really loved it when the mommy lion and the daddy lion were affectionate with one another. I think it's really important for children to see parents who love each other and get along." And I was like, "Thank you, Mr. Rogers."
Yeah, it was
I
very
felt the same way. I felt the
There
same
you
way just now
go.
when Norman said it.
Yeah.
Yay, little Mr. Rogers, mini Mr. Rogers.
Little mini Mr. Rogers.
But that getting that validation was pretty incredible and a great tribute to the way the characters are written. I mean, Peter and I got to inhabit them, but they were written with that, and it was
Definitely
our job to bring them to life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing like seeing you guys do it.
Oh,
yeah, really.
Nothing.
Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's too bad we never got to see that scene with Dr. Ruth where she was helping you two with your physical relationship. It had to be cut from the show. WGBH, man, they just did not like that
you
stuff.
know that originally I was going to play that part.
Dr. Ruth?
I would pay money to see that.
Because we didn't know that we would get her. So I was going to do Dr. Ruth.
Well, it's not too late.
It's not too late.
And
we
when she
should
said she
we
would do
should
it,
be
I
on
was,
the air if you had done that.
no, I was
Norm.
hoping she'd get sick, but she didn't. So she did it.
She was great, by the way.
Oh,
she was amazing.
What a delightful
Amazing.
person.
What a
my
trooper.
God.
She was so funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
there were a lot of wonderful guest stars on the show too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
14 Karat Soul,
Oh yeah, and
having them on the show.
Oh, there's so many.
Indy RE, she was
Indy
great.
RE, yeah.
Yeah, for the give.
And
song,
Jasmine
yeah.
Guy, do you remember when she came? She sang with you, Jen. I love that piece.
That was a good one.
How was it to hang out with Brian McKnight for the homophones? That song has traction.
That's one of my favorite things that I've done. It was the most intimidated I've ever been singing with somebody.
Yeah, you did a fabulous job.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that song.
Because
Yeah,
his voice is the voice of an angel, and I remember
such a
poor
beautiful
Paul.
track. Like,
Oh, it's a gorgeous track.
Sarah wrote that one too.
Yeah.
Poor Paul had to talk me through my own insecurities as a vocalist, because I'm like, I can't sing alongside this Grammy Award winning. He sounds amazing, and he was like, fine, it's just really simple, it's the storytelling, it's fine. It was really lovely. So he gave me some great guidance and feedback as far as that's concerned. But Brian McKnight was amazing, and he was interacting with Cleo so beautifully, kind of flirting with her a little.
Yeah, it turned out really
I never liked that piece. I got a bone to pick with him.
I remember, Peter, you walking in and as we were doing one of the last takes of it, and there's the part where the two of them are singing and they turn to face each other, and at that moment the camera up and away, and it looks like they might be kissing off camera.
Oh, they were.
Hey, Theo, something happened over.
We had to clean that puppet after that. We had to clean the puppet.
And from the back of the room I heard Theo saying, "What are you doing with my wife?"
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to bring up my friend Bruno Kirby, who was on the show.
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
Yes.
Oh man,
I love him so much.
Yeah, and he worked. I don't know if you remember, he was doing that the piece on It Could Be Worse.
I thought it was just a little overcoat. Was that it? Was that this?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I forget exactly which one it was, but he worked overtime, major overtime that night.
Yep.
And
It was a long night.
It was like double overtime or something. He worked such long hours, and he was not. I mean, he was a good friend, let's say. And we're in the cab going home, and he had just done the O.J. Simpson story, and he played one of the defense witnesses. And we're in the cab going home, and we're going across town, sort of through up the lower Harlem area, because it was up. We were doing it at that studio up on
Metropolis in East Harlem.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we're going uptown, and he says, "Oh, there's Harlem over there." He says, "Right now I'm kind of big up there," because he had just been O.J. Simpson's lawyer.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
but I remember Ossie Davis and Ruby D having
Oh, you bet.
in the studio as well and being absolute champs about the whole thing. That was a long day. They were
Man.
I remember the Al Roker with the hurricane and all the monkeys.
Oh, that was great.
Right.
Yeah.
He also came to my house to shoot words. Remember, they would do one word at a time. They would say, "And now a word from Al Roker," and he would say, "Chili."
Yeah, Roker was
that was it.
Chris, didn't we do? Was it the Boss Man in your backyard? The who let the dogs out? Who was?
Yeah.
I remember doing that in your backyard.
Yeah. Baja Men. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baja Men.
Baja Men. That was
Baja Man. Yeah, that was fun to see.
On the
that.
staircase.
Yeah. Oh, they were great. So many
Let the
wonderful
dogs
celebrities.
out.
Yeah, I'm Kelly Ripa, Larry King,
Steve Carell.
Yeah.
What a privilege to do all this, right?
Yeah.
And call it work.
I know.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Dr. Ruth. Yeah.
She loved doing it so much.
Like that segment, it was wacky. Like I can't do this word.
Yeah, like the one that with the monkeys, and then when they would do with the letters.
Yeah.
Long word freak out.
Long word freak out.
The monkey would come in with a word that was too
Crash
long.
at the door. Yeah.
I can't read this word.
That long word freak out actually came from one of our educational seminars.
Yeah.
Oh.
When Marilyn Adams said, we need to get into something that happens often with kids when they learn a one-syllable word and then maybe a two-syllable word. When they see a word that's longer, she said they have kind of long word freak out. And I said, "Oh, write that down."
Brilliant.
That same category, things like B and D confusion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
B and D confusion, which
Peter
Linz, I believe, you rocked that.
Yeah. You already talked about that story, Peter. Yeah.
And
Jimi
things that
Hendrix.
come from seemingly dry curricula.
Yes,
and
you're
be
right.
like B and D confusion. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I had the whole
That's
Jimi
right,
Hendrix
that's
and all the background.
Sounds like a
from
Jimi
the
Hendrix
original
song,
song, which music video, and we used to that. We're just like,
Yeah.
that's
You know a
great.
lot.
It sounds like something
And
that happens to you when you're on drugs, doesn't it?
Exactly. B and D confusion.
Drains my brain.
Thank you, Peter.
Oh my God, you still remember.
Thank you.
Oh,
That was a great song.
But the advisors role, when they're used right,
Yes.
they become really part of the team. The
Right.
one I always think of was we asked Marilyn Adams what she thought was the hardest thing to teach in the classroom for teachers. And she said, blending, because there's no way to put the words together without writing them on the blackboard and then erasing them or making flashcards for every single letter or phoneme. So we started brainstorming about what are other ways we could do it. We thought of bumper cars and all kinds of things. But Monty Python was the ultimate inspiration with the mice with hobby horses. It was just too good to resist.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
The other part of that was that they had we could do one intro because they had the visors.
Yeah.
So we could,
shoot it once and
Well,
voice
that came
whatever.
from Power Rangers, I think, was the show that figured out that they didn't have to do any lip syncing at all because they have masks over their mouths. And so we realized that we could get Peter to do this only once, right? Well, he had to do the voice every time.
No. I wasn't in the...
You had to do it over and over.
Over and over again.
But the Knights only had to do it once.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
The Knights and Gawain himself.
Yes.
Which is another terrible pun.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
while
While
we're on the subject of you didn't have to worry about seeing their mouths to make the sounds. on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I feel like we should give a shout out to Fred Newman.
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
absolutely.
Yeah,
All
the
those-
segment that he does too, with his mouth and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and getting to see his mouth shaping the sounds
That's
as you.
Oh
exactly
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that was
And
such a-
and virtually every one of those segments was were his inventions.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
pitched him
I
on.
mean,
That's right.
that's
Uh,
great.
Yeah.
I would talk them through with him, but they were his. I mean, because he knew what he could do. He had this vision of his, of the visual that he wanted to see and everything. It were all him. It was just great. Yeah.
There's no one like Fred Newman. I mean, he's an absolute unique talent.
Yeah.
I remember meeting him first because he had done a book for workmen
Mouth
called
sounds.
Mouth Sounds.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And he had his
Yeah.
head sticking out of one of those big cardboard things that have a clown's costume, and you put your head through to talk as the character. And he had one of those boards, and he was offered to make any sound you wanted. And I think I realized right then, this is somebody that cannot be left just doing books. He's just too good. But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My
Yeah.
mother bought me that book when I was a child. I
Oh.
learned a lot of the sounds that are
Really?
still part of my career. Actually, there's
Oh.
a character that I voiced the English dub for in Pokemon. That the sounds that are coming out of my mouth are literally sounds that I learned from his book. So when I got to meet him on the set, was like I don't get really.
Yiddy.
Meeting famous people is not that big of a deal to me, but meeting Fred that day was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, since we already talked about a lot of with songs already. I mean, some of them, of course, we've got to mention like like a Trouble by Lil Y. So we already talked about BD Confusion.
right.
Kind of the blues like a song, and then like
W Trouble.
That'll be
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, the Mighty Star Lion, which
The Mighty Star Lion, beautiful song.
like the ensemble on that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Which ironically, so you were talking about with Fred Newman, who was also the one who got to voice up the duck for the Big Bad Duck for that episode.
Oh yeah.
The Big
Forgot
Bad
about
Duck
that,
song.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We booked today, and
yeah, and in terms of writing, she wasn't able to make it, but of course we got to talk about, Louise Gecko.
Oh,
yeah.
Who wrote a lot
Of
of
course.
wonderful episodes, including the episode with the Mighty Starline. I think she wrote
She
that
wrote
one.
that song.
yeah,
too.
yeah,
She wrote
the
the
song,
Shooting
yeah.
Stars episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
Such a classic episode.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's one
That's
of
a
my
wonderful
favorite shows. I
episode.
love that.
Yes.
The ending of that show really, I thought you guys did.
Like seeing like a shot of four of them just like looking up at stars, and it was
It's really
I
great.
love that show.
Oh, that's right. The roof deck
Of
that
course.
we got later,
That
right?
is beautiful.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Jen, Peter, and Pam, what was it like getting to do, live appearances with the Lions? I know you already talked about a few of them, but what was that like getting to kind of, step out of the set and get to perform in front of kids,
Yeah, and being in various locations and schools and all that. Yeah.
libraries, and yeah.
It was
Uh-huh.
Chick-fil-A's, Sears.
Sears. Well, but it was incredible. I mean, there were times when, well, for instance, in Mississippi, where we had been doing some, they were helping us to try to do some grant writing. They were doing a research project for us to show how the curriculum helped kids' reading scores improve. Did the curriculum work or not compared to control groups and schools? And in the schools where we had been part of their regular curriculum for a couple of months or so, we walked in and they treated us like rock stars. They'd see us and they'd scream like it was Beyonce. It was ridiculous. It was, what is happening right now? So it was lovely to feel all of that kind of love. One of the ones that stands out for me was Pam. I think it was you and me. We went to, we went to a facility where kids were sort of being housed while a lot of difficult stuff was happening in their families. Either parents were incarcerated or their houses had burned down and mom and dad had to travel to find work or a job or a new place to live. And so these kids were all sort of bunking together in this, and it was a great facility, and the people who ran it were wonderful. And Pam and I did a show, And because Cleo is so, I mean, she runs the length of my entire arm, unlike Peter and Pam, who can do Theo and Leona with them and you can see their face. I'm like, nope, I got to be down here because she is the entire length of my arm. Her whole body is. So whenever we would finish a performance, we're like, Pam, I just need a couple minutes to get blood. Can you go out there and do a little meet and greet? And I'll join you in a second. Like, of course. So I remember coming out and saying, hey, how are you? And at that point I was sort of standing, sometimes depending if it was a big group, I would sort of stand and sort of tower over them a little bit. But if it was a smaller, more intimate controlled room, then I would be either sitting or lying on the ground and have my puppets sort of at their eye level height. And in this particular instance, every child ran over and threw their arms around Cleo's neck and basically pulled me down.
my goodness.
Pulling me down because they needed mom energy.
Yeah.
And they had it.
Oh my gosh.
So that was
How about that?
that was one of the more memorable and in a way, one of my favorite experiences getting to do a live appearance with her.
I think that we were really gifted with a wonderful ability to do outreach with those characters. And the one that stands out the most for me was that because we were in Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina, we went out 3 weeks after the hurricane and went to visit schools. And these kids had lost everything. And it was their first week back in school. And the teachers would come up afterwards with tears in their eyes and they say, it's the first time we've seen these kids smile all week. They've had no reason to be happy. Thank you so much for coming. So the outreach we got to do with Katrina, and I did 2 tours, was just amazing outreach. And very grateful that we had that opportunity to help in the ways that we can help, as performers and entertainers. We can do that kind of outreach and hug kids and tell them it'll be okay eventually, which is what I'm sort of trying to do to the whole world right now. It'll be okay eventually.
Thank you for that, Mom.
But the other one was we were at the Cincinnati Zoo. Peter and I were at the Cincinnati Zoo, and we got to do this whole backstage tour of the Cincinnati Zoo. And there are 2 things that stand out. One of them was they showed us where they feed the animals. And there's such a thing as Purina monkey chow, which made me so happy that it exists. These big bags of Purina monkey chow, and it just cracked me up. But the other one was Peter and I were standing outside the lion cage. I wasn't a cage. It was a
big open exhibit.
A big open thing where the lions.
Their habitat.
Cool. Yeah, so we were doing a little take-home video, which I think we still have somewhere, parts of it anyway.
Somewhere.
And I have it. And Theo starts apologizing to the lion for taking Cleo away from him, the real lion. So he's doing this whole riff with the lion, and the lion's moving closer. And they're mostly eyeing, because Leona's standing next to him going, Dad? And this lion keeps coming closer. And I asked the woman who was giving us the tour, I said, this moat keeps them in, right? She goes, well, I don't know. They've never tried to jump it before.
Nice.
It was full on stalking Theo. And we were inside, we were beyond where the public gets to be. So they didn't want a chain link fence for the video. So we're like in there.
And it was so scary. And we put the puppets in bags and we started to run, and they followed us along the edge. We went behind a chain link fence to get away. And literally this lion wanted us.
I never heard this story. That's amazing.
Wanted to be friends.
Clearly, you didn't accept my apology.
He did not accept your apology. And he wanted your daughter.
Yeah.
Do you have that video? I would love to see that.
I think I do. I think it's on a hard drive. I'll have to go look for it.
If you could find that would be a treasure.
Interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, of course you got to appear on the Easter egg wall in the White House and National Book Fest, where I saw the picture that we previously chatted with Steve Roslanik, known as Steve Songs, was there, and I saw you that got to meet him too, Jen.
I remember
Leo too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, in recent years with the Games Expo, which that was fun getting to see you.
That was great seeing you there last
Peter
year.
and Chris. Yeah, that was a blast seeing you all.
That was
it really is.
I totally was not jealous at all that Jake went and I was not there.
Oh, Chris.
Chris, next time it happens, God,
Absolutely.
I'm sure like last time it happens like 2 years ago, which I know they usually do it like every other
Yeah, well,
year. So probably
there are a
later on
few
in the
issues
year.
with funding at the Department of Education, in case you hadn't heard. So that may be hard for EdMets to keep doing that. But
Oh wow.
if they or doing anything, we haven't really talked about it. But I am very excited and want to mention again that our show is alive because of Success for All in the Department of Ed. We've been using it in schools. It's really working.
Oh yeah.
The kids are learning.
That's great.
And we're beginning to we've cut the show up. So you see the segment that's right for the day. When the kids are learning the letter D, they see all the letter D segments. And we took all the games and made them much richer. So the games only play D words on the day they're learning D as well.
Wow.
And it's really, really working.
Yeah.
So
That's
hoping
wonderful.
it's going to give our show a little life again.
Hopefully, yes.
And we've already
Yes,
recorded
fingers
with
crossed.
Peter and Jen and Pam just recently did some. And I hope that,
Nice.
Tim, we can get you into this too. And
Yeah,
maybe
so
write some new stuff as well, Sarah Bruce Durkee.
yeah, for a new project
Woman.
for Between the Lines, or even just a online project even thing, or we're bringing this back into schools and libraries again.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, the idea that there's anything old-fashioned about the show is crazy. There might be a few scenes that look weird that are live action and how people are dressed, but the puppets and animation,
Timeless.
and that's true of Sesame
yeah.
Street,
Yeah, of
too.
course.
I cannot believe that Sesame has 50 years worth of great Muppet stuff, and they don't use any of it in schools. It's just insane.
Yeah, I
true.
know.
We talked about that, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other speech. But
Yeah,
we are doing it
for
with
another day.
Lions.
Yeah.
We are doing it with Lions. So
Yes.
thank you all for helping with that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
Well,
of
that's
course.
all we have time for tonight on Jake's Happy Nostalgia. I don't have a script.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now going focusing to now episodes wise to you both Chris and Norman. Are there like any episodes or segments they remember that kind of like stick out that got to do for the show?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer for Chris. It's when he got to right hand me. Do you remember right
I
hand?
got you to do what?
You were right handing for me for one.
Oh, I was going to tell you. Yes, that's so great.
Please, I wanted to make sure you didn't forget, because that is one of my favorite memories of working with you.
This is a great Kathy Mullen story. We're talking about her amazing ability as a puppet captain, among other things. And there was one day when there weren't enough puppeteers. It was a scene, I think, when you were singing shh in the restaurant, and there had to be a lot of people. So I was they forced me to be a puppeteer against their will, but I had to promise not to move in any way or I would ruin the scene. And about 6 minutes in, I said, I wonder what would happen if I just did this. And I did that, and Kathy shouted out, I saw that! And she cut the scene, and we had to shoot it over again. I don't know what I did wrong, but even that was enough.
You
to
know what
screw
you
it
did
up.
wrong.
Well, I have to say that I have two shows that jump to mind that I really liked. I liked the one where Lionel wanted to have a mane.
Oh, right.
He wanted to have an adult mane, and he went to the it's like hair club, but it was the Maine club for manes.
I
where
think he got it. Yeah,
he got a mane, and he sang a version of Hair, which I think Paul wrote
with Sarah again.
with
I don't
Sarah.
recall that we wrote that song, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul did music for it. But...
Yeah, it was great. And the other one I liked just because of this, it was we had a delivery guy from a company called FredX. And it was Fred.
Thought about that.
Yeah. Fred himself came to
Right.
deliver something, and I just like that one. I don't know why.
That's wonderful.
that's
One
There's
of
so
my
many
favorites
amazing
was
things. Just what
yeah.
BB the King of Beasts, which we mentioned briefly.
Yes, yeah.
I don't even know
yeah,
how
of
you
course.
guys
Great
came
one.
up with the concept of how to do that, but it required a real person sitting with a guitar, right? I mean, how did you do that, and how did you think of that?
That
I mean, I don't mean how did you think of the character, but how did you think of how to
no.
perform it?
I don't know that I was necessarily the one who thought of it, but we had, oh gosh, I'm losing her name. Tim
Lee.
James's Lee, thank you.
Lee, yeah.
Yeah, Lee Godwin. Yeah, she did for B&D Confusion and also for BB the King of Beasts. He's in a big easy chair, and I'm all dressed in black, and I just had Theo's head comes off, so I just had Theo's head separately, and I rested on Lee's shoulder, and she just had her head back, and I think she probably had a black hood or something, so you couldn't see her face. So she's playing the guitar, and she's wearing big lion slippers that look like paws, and I'm just doing the head. And we did the same thing with B&D Confusion, but it
Right.
was head to toe. It was her head to toe, like she was lion gloves and lion feet and electric guitar, and I had to stay like really small and skinny behind her and line my body up with the camera so you wouldn't see me standing. We might have had some green screen too for that one, I think.
I think
But anyway,
the
but it was just
Confusion you did, yeah.
yeah, it was just the disembodied head. And what was fun about that too is when we did a bunch of different takes, and one of them I was able to take the head and just push it right into the camera lens, which was really weird because her body's back here and the head's right there.
That was effective. That was wonderful. I remember.
Yeah, it was really trippy.
I need to apologize. I have a job interview in 9 minutes because Daddy needs a job. So it's been a pleasure seeing all of you. I love you all.
Before you go, I was just about to say one of my favorite moments from the show outside of the episode was when you were a human patron in the library, puppeteering a character alongside of you at the exact same time. Because I don't think
I was doing two. I was doing character and I was doing click at the same time.
Oh my God.
Heather was doing something else. So I was doing click on the table and I was having a conversation with him and I was ignoring click, and click was talking to somebody over there. Because why not?
Oh gosh.
Well, I was gonna say, since Tim, you have to run, should we? What? Because we're about to ask the last couple questions anyway. Should we maybe pose for a photo? If that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, real quick. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Wait.
And yeah. So yeah. You got you can have the lines.
I can't
for the
have
picture.
Cleo not with me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Here, we'll just pose for it real quick. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Oh wow.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Awesome. Well, Tim, it was great having you here. Great to talk to you again.
Thank you, guys. I love all of you deeply, and
love
I
you too.
Love you,
can't wait to
Timmy.
see you all
Yeah,
again.
great to see you.
Get the job.
That job.
This is
Get that
good
job.
job.
Again, Tim.
Get that job.
Gotta keep this house.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Thank you.
Speaking of other things that other people are doing, though, Norman,
Mhm.
I want to ask if all the work behind you is yours.
Yes.
I think it's so wonderful.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
of course.
I'm really enjoying doing this.
Here. I remember lamps.
The lamp, I've stopped doing lamps. And
great.
I'm now, as I say, I've given up putting words on paper, and now to create stories, and now I put iron and other metal and concrete to create stories.
Well, they're very similar.
Yeah.
One leads to the other, very natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody can change it once you're finished.
Right.
Well, they can, but they got to go through.
Yeah. So such one accent to you, Sarah. Now, of course, music playing a big role in the show and all that. And now you got to collaborate with Paul on many songs and for the show. Now, of course, do you have any favorites that you both got to wrote?
Oh boy. I should have thought about that a little bit before we started this Zoom meeting, shouldn't I? It's hard to say, but I have to say my personal thrill was that I also got to sing on so many.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any, and you puppeteers, you got to be in the studio so often. But for writers to be able to also be in on the ridiculous fun of being in the studio, being in a session, and singing with Paul, who was my co-writer, and to have all of those things come together in the studio with. It started with just a creative impulse of some curriculum item, and it ended up being a blast singing at a mic. And it
well, you're very good at it.
That arc of every song, and Chris, you know this so well. The arc of a song starting out as some silly concept, and then you find yourself having a blast in the studio.
Oh, for sure.
One of the singers is just unbelievably fun.
And working with talents like these guys and like Nikki Richards and all those people who are world-class singers.
It got to be, it was such a full, rich, varied experience compared to most writing stuff. And I
you were a Dixie chimp, as I recall.
I got to be a Dixie chimp.
Dixie chimp.
I got to sing, and Paul.
Or just a chimp now. They're no longer the Dixie chimps.
Since you asked about a favorite, I think on a personal, sentimental note, there's a song we wrote for actually I'm gonna make a fool of myself because this was a Sesame Street song, but that song called Here We Are that we did for Sesame was Paul singing together with Paul for an animated piece. Two Lalas Go Walking. That was always stand out for me. And Cue Without You.
That was one of the things that we all collaborated on.
Yes, we did.
You and I wrote it, and then you and Paul did.
Yes, exactly. So it felt like there was real constellation of talents all coming together for some of those, and those stick out in my mind for sure.
Absolutely. A lot of
the songs you all wrote were so you had a good time getting to sing as much as you did, but we did too, because your music was so great and so fun to sing, so fun to record. It was not difficult to find the character and the energy and how to perform them, because they were just so good and so much fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Look It Up that Paul got to sing.
Aw. Yeah, it's funny because YouTube has helped me remember just how much there was.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
Yeah.
It all goes back to Joe Raposo, who was the music director of Sesame, who made a point right from day one of Sesame that we're not going to do kiddie music.
That's right.
As I was saying earlier, we can get any musicians that we're willing to pay normal rates to, so let's get the best one.
Yes,
for sure.
And then they all had fun in the band every day. It's like a family. That's the main thing about all of this.
Yes.
It really was like a family.
It really was.
Absolutely.
Which is why it's such a treasure to be talking to you all and still getting to sneakily find a way to do a little of it.
Absolutely. So,
of course.
So to wrap this up, is there like a specific moment from Between the Lions that I guess that each of you kind of look back on the most?
Oh, I have one. Remember Black when we did the takeoff on Men in Black?
Here you go,
Men in Black.
Yeah, we did a Monkeys in Black.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I insisted upon making one of those bananas that the memory things, like the little tool they had that made you lose your memory.
Yes.
So I rigged a banana, a plastic banana, so it would open up and flash. So I thought, okay, back then we could buy little cardboard Kodak cameras with the built-in flash.
Yeah.
Buy one of those. I'll rip the flash out. It works off a couple of AA batteries, and I'll put that in the banana, and everything will be cool. So I rip out the thing, the little pad, the battery holder, and all that stuff, and my little flasher, and I get it in the banana, and I'm holding it, and I hook it up, and I push the button, and I literally almost electrocute myself. My entire body goes,
oh no.
Well, it would have been even more memorable if you had.
Well, that's a fun story for you.
Gosh.
Oh gosh.
All right, we know it does that. I just have to insulate really well, because there's no way I was going to give it up, and we got it done and onto the camp. But that to me is like one of the funniest things I remember working on, with all the monkeys walking around in the black suits, doing with the glasses, and it was like such a great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I think one of my favorites was the Shakespeare episode.
That is
Oh,
my. That was
Which
gonna
one?
cite that.
Which
I was
one,
gonna cite
Jen?
that one too.
The
I didn't hear what you
Shakespeare
said.
episode,
Shakespeare.
about dreaming Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That episode, and getting to do that final love sonnet with Theo was
And being coached by Tyler. I remember I had some excellent coaching sessions before we shot that.
I remember that because that was a pet project of Michael's,
Yes, indeed.
but it was my job to do it.
Ah,
And I had to, that was a tough one,
Did you write it all in iambic pentameter? I can't remember if you did or not.
No, I think I wrote it in iambic trichtological temeter. I don't know what I wrote it in. I don't remember what I wrote it in. I just remember the process being one that was very, very difficult when I finally finished it and I showed it to Michael, and he had that wonderful look at his face. Good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, good.
I remember popcorn.
Oh
Yeah.
The popcorn episode, popcorn popper.
The popcorn popper.
Holy
Yeah.
frijoles. I've never seen that much popcorn in one place in my life. It was literally in the center
Like
where they
falling
tried to hold it
down.
up with the fabric. And would put slits in it so that we could go in. Because of the weight in the center of the big expanse, it was like 3 feet deep. 3 feet deep of popcorn that we were reaching up through and in our hair and eyes and ears, and the place smelled like popcorn for at least a week after that. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. This was so much fun getting to see you guys again. Obviously, most of you have been on the show already, but again, Jim and Sarah, very happy to have you guys join along.
Wonderful.
Our pleasure.
Thanks for doing this, guys. Without you, we wouldn't have had this reunion. And
Well, it means a lot, Norman.
me,
Thank you very much.
it really was very special. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
thank
Cool.
you so much for
All right.
this gift.
Guys.
And
Love you all.
and yes, Jen, Tyler, Pam, Peter, Chris, Norman, great to see you guys again.
Yeah, it's great to see you all again. Thank you
I
very
can
much.
literally cry right now. This is
By the way,
And,
before you
and
all
of course,
go,
great to see you, Cleo, Theo, and Leona too. Of course.
Yes.
before you all
Forget
go, I
that.
just wanted to say April 3rd is actually the anniversary day
Mhm.
of the show.
Yeah.
And I was
That's when we plan on
wondering
putting this up too.
how you'd all feel about actually having a party to celebrate that, because I
Yeah,
would
let's
love
do
to
it.
try to
Let's-
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. That's where I'll be.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll
Are
do
you
it.
inviting us? Okay.
Wherever you are, Norm, we'll come to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Partying hard with
Yeah.
the Lions. Yes. Yes.
Anyway,
Love
I
that
would
idea,
like to
Chris.
try.
All right. Well,
Bye, everyone.
take care, you guys. Enjoy the
Thank
rest.
you.
Thanks
Enjoy
again.
the rest of your day.
Thanks
This
for
was a
making this
blast.
happen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again. Take care. Bye.
Yes.
It's a lot of
Bye.
fun.
Yes. And Chris and Norman, great to have you guys again for a third time. This was wonderful. And it's goodbye from us as well. Holy smokes. This is a lot of fun. Great to talk to the cast and crew of Between the Lions. Once again, that was Christopher Cerf, Norman Stiles, Jennifer Barnhart, Peter Linz, Tyler Bunch, Pam Arciero, Tim Legacy, Jim Kroupa, Paul Jacobs, and Sarah Durkee. A lot of fun having them on.
Even.
Yes, Between the Lions, wonderful show from our childhoods. Taught me how to read, basically, that Sesame Street.
Me too, of course. And it was such
Such
a wonderful
wonderful shows.
show growing up, and watching it through school, and then website, PBS Kids
Websites,
session,
oh
and
yeah.
watching all the episodes growing up. It was such a wonderful show. To what how the show was to us. How the way the curriculum was to teach children like us that time to first introduction, how important reading is. It's such a wonderful series to have that. So we're very glad for us, and very thankful in a way as well for us that we got to grow up watching it, and for doing this to celebrate the show's anniversary. It was tons of fun indeed.
It was needed, and
It was great. It was great to happen.
Obviously, and I'll just make this brief. You guys know, like on the news, kind of what we're all going through lately with the fires that happened in LA, and just society's kind of not in a great shape right now. So we're glad we were able to do this for not only the people who worked on the show, but for all of you who, like us, supported Between the Lions for many years. And both, yes, got the Lions as well.
Exactly.
But yes,
And,
keep on
and
the
of course, Lionel too.
yes, absolutely. And I do just want to point out that Lou Berger, who was one of the other creators of Between the Lions, he was going to be here, but for some reason he was not able to, I guess. And same with Louise Gicko. But their work on the show too can never be forgotten, and we're very grateful for what they did with the show as well.
Yes, their contributions of their involvement to the franchise will never be begun, like people that came here today too.
But we're not going to keep you guys here any longer, so we're going to end this off by saying, once again, keep on the lookout for more wonderful, fun interviews coming your way. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Keep nostalgia alive together, everyone. See you next time, and I hope you did enjoy this, wild about Between the Lines in this episode.
Yes.
See you then for more anniversaries episodes down the road, and a lot of wonderful episodes coming away, like Chris says. Anyway, thanks again for y'all to watch this, and for this wonderful episode to celebrate the Lions. And anyway, stay looking forward for more wonderful episodes coming your way. Until then, see you next time. Take care. Bye.
And together on the count of 3, what do the Lions say?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Get wild about reading.
About reading.
Yes.
Exactly.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wait, don't go anywhere. There's more. Keep watching Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show for a special surprise. Ooh. Announcer Bunny out.
Well, hello, it's me, Cleo, from Between the Lions. And it's come to my attention recently that, I can't believe this, but this is the 25th anniversary of Between the Lions being on the air. I know! How did that happen? I don't believe it. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of the fans out there who enjoyed the show. We had a great time making it, and we hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much for all the love and everything. And especially thanks to Jake and Chris from Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show for giving us the opportunity to have a reunion. Yes, we had a reunion show. Oh, you've got to check it out. You absolutely do. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So for me and Theo and Lionel and Leona, we love you all so much. And keep being wild about reading. Love you. Mwah.
Hi, Leona Lion here, and I just want to thank everyone for watching Between the Lions. I can't believe people have been watching for 2 whole years. Yeah. Huh? Oh, 5. You've been watching for 5 whole years. That's great. I think that's 25 years? You've been watching for 25 years? Wow! Thank you so much. That's great. 25 years. Holy cow. That's a long time, and I'm only 4. How does that work? I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to thank you all for being loyal fans. And I especially want to thank Jake and Chris from Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show for holding a Between the Lions reunion for us all. It was so much fun. Thank you guys, you're the best. And don't forget to get wild about reading. Bye-bye. And don't forget it.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.